All right, Steelers Nation, let's get into it. The latest buzz around Pittsburgh has been heating up, and this time it's all about the head coaching search. Brian Flores showed up on the South Side for an in-person interview. And that alone is a big deal because it was the first time Art Rooney and Omar Khan have sat down face-to-face with a candidate. When you consider the significance of that moment, it really feels like the search is moving into a new phase. And Flores being in the room means the Steelers are taking him seriously. Now, here's the thing that's been sticking with me, for whatever reason. The fan base doesn't seem overly excited about Flores, and I get it. I really do. There's something about the Steelers' history that makes fans feel a certain way about hiring a coach who's never held the job before. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin all came in as first-time head coaches. And that tradition has shaped the way people think about the franchise. There's this romantic idea of discovering someone new. Someone who hasn't been tested in that spotlight yet. It's like walking into a brand new house, knowing nobody has lived there before. That first feeling of ownership is hard to beat, but let's not ignore the other side. Flores is in his mid-40s, and he already has head coaching experience in the NFL. He ran the Dolphins for 3 seasons, and even though the results weren't perfect, it's not like he's unproven at the highest level. Plus, he's not a stranger to Pittsburgh. He spent time here in a defensive advisory role. And he wasn't just a name on a staff chart. He was present, he was vocal, he was visible, and he was involved. That kind of familiarity matters, especially when you're talking about a franchise that values culture and identity as much as the Steelers do. When Flores left to become the Vikings' defensive coordinator, a lot of people in Pittsburgh actually wanted him to stick around, even instead of Terrell Austin. And looking at what he's done in Minnesota, it's hard to argue against the fact that his resume has improved. The Vikings finished the most recent season ranked 3rd in total defense across the entire league, and they were only behind the Texans and the Broncos. Right behind them was the Browns. That's elite company, and it speaks to his ability to build a strong defensive unit. They also forced turnovers at a high rate, with 21 takeaways, which ranked them 10th in the NFL. 8 interceptions and 13 fumble recoveries is a solid number, and it's proof that his defensive philosophy isn't just about scheme and alignment. It's about creating opportunities and making plays when it counts. That kind of production doesn't come from luck. It comes from coaching, preparation, and a mindset that demands excellence. So if we're talking about the biggest difference between Flores and the rest of the candidates, it's simple. He's the only one with actual head coaching experience. That alone should be a major advantage. But for some reason, the excitement isn't there. Maybe it's because his time in Miami didn't end with a playoff run. Maybe it's because he's been involved in some controversial off-the-field issues. Or maybe it's because fans just don't want a coach who's already been in the same role somewhere else. But here's where things get interesting. Flores has had some off-field situations that people have flagged as potential red flags. And I want to be honest about it. I've done my homework. I've dug into his NFL history. And what I see are the distinct chapters that matter. First, his time in Miami, including how it ended. And second, the lawsuit he filed against the NFL alleging racial discrimination in hiring practices. That lawsuit is going to be a major talking point no matter what happens. And it's something that I believe a lot of people will agree with him on. Let's start with Miami. His record there was 24 wins and 25 losses over 3 seasons. He had the winning seasons, 10-6 and 9-8, but he never made the playoffs. That alone doesn't scream elite head coach. And it doesn't give me the kind of confidence that makes me say, this is the guy. People already knew Flores was a sharp defensive mind before he got the Miami job. And now everyone knows it again because of what he's done in Minnesota. But being a head coach is different. It's not just about scheme and defense. It's about leadership, management, and how you handle pressure when everything is on the line. And then there was the public fallout. With Tua Tagovailoa, it was messy. And it became one of the most talked about stories of his tenure. Tua was the Dolphins' franchise quarterback, and by most accounts, Flores was extremely hard on him. Tua has been vocal about it. And he even said Flores was a terrible person after Flores was fired. Now, to his credit, Flores later said he was happy to see Tua succeed and acknowledged that his coaching style was harsh. He said it was meant to challenge, and he admitted that he reflected on the situation and learned from it. When the media asked him about it in Minnesota, his response was cautious. He talked about correcting players, maintaining high standards, and growing through reflection. but if you listen to that answer, it doesn't exactly sound like a confident, decisive leader. It comes off as somewhat uncertain, almost apologetic. And that matters because Art Rooney has said leadership is the #1 priority in this hire. If your coach doesn't sound like he's in control of the room, that could be a problem. Now, on the lawsuit against the NFL, I have no issue with it at all. In fact, I respect it. It shows he's willing to stand up against what he believes is wrong. And the case is about much more than just discrimination. It's about the league's arbitration process and the fact that one person, Roger Goodell, has been the ultimate decision maker on these issues. That's a big deal. And the legal fight is ongoing and could go all the way to the Supreme Court. But here's the thing, that lawsuit doesn't seem to consume him. It's a legal matter handled by lawyers, and it doesn't appear to affect his focus as a coach. What concerns me more are the other things the Miami record, the Tua relationship, and how he handles pressure. Those are real questions. And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure the fan base is wrong to be cautious. All right, let's keep rolling. We left off right at the point where the questions start to pile up. And the reality is that Brian Flores is a candidate who brings both upside and uncertainty. He's a defensive mind who has proven he can run a top-tier unit, but the head coaching role is a whole different animal. And when you're talking about the Steelers, the stakes are even higher because this isn't just a job. This is a franchise built on culture, tradition, and identity. And the next head coach is going to be responsible for preserving all of that, while also pushing the team forward. Now, the big thing that has to be addressed is the question of leadership, because that is what Art Rooney has said he's prioritizing above everything else. Flores has the resume, sure, but does he have the presence? Does he have the ability to command a room, to inspire trust, and to keep a locker room together through the hard times? That's the real test, and the Tua situation, for better or worse, put a spotlight on that. It was public, it was messy, it involved the franchise quarterback. And even though Flores has said he learned from it, the damage was done. And the story is still part of his narrative. But the thing about leadership is that it isn't just about how you handle one player or one situation. It's about how you handle everything. It's about how you respond when things go wrong. It's about whether you can keep your cool and maintain a steady hand when the pressure is at its highest. And the Steelers are a team that demands that from their head coach. Mike Tomlin has been a model of consistency in that regard. He's never been fired, and he's always been seen as a steady presence. If you're going to replace a coach like that, you have to find someone who can at least match that level of steadiness. And let's be honest, Steelers fans are not the easiest group to win over. This fan base has a long memory, and they don't forget what it means to be a Steelers coach. They know what the job requires, and they know what it takes to succeed in this city. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about how you carry yourself, how you represent the franchise, and how you handle the scrutiny that comes with being the head coach of one of the most iconic teams in the league. That brings us to the next topic, which is the quarterback situation. If the Steelers are going to hire a coach like Flores, they need to be confident in the direction of the offense. Because the truth is, Flores is a defensive coach. He's not going to be the one calling the offensive plays, and he's not going to be the one designing the scheme. He's going to rely on his staff to handle that side of the ball. So if the Steelers don't feel confident in their offensive identity, that's a risk. And right now, the offensive side of the ball is one of the biggest question marks on the roster. There are pieces in place, sure, but there's also a lot of uncertainty. The quarterback situation has been a roller coaster for years, and the team has not found a consistent answer. If the next coach is going to be a defensive-minded leader, the front office has to make sure the offense is being handled by someone who can get the most out of the players and create a system that works in today's league. So what about the rest of the candidates? Why is Flores the one who gets this kind of mixed reaction? Part of it is that people are naturally suspicious of someone who has a history of conflict. And that's not just the Tua situation. It's the fact that Flores has been involved in one of the biggest legal battles in NFL history. It's a lawsuit that challenges the league itself. Some people see that as a sign of courage and conviction. Others see it as a potential distraction. And that's the problem. In Pittsburgh, distractions are not something you can afford. The Steelers have a culture of focus and discipline. They don't tolerate drama. They don't tolerate chaos. They want a head coach who can keep the team centered, who can keep the players focused, and who can keep the organization moving in the right direction. That's why the leadership question is so important. Because if you hire a coach who is going to bring controversy or unpredictability, you could be setting the franchise up for a tough few years. And then there's the reality of the roster. The Steelers have a defense that still has some strong pieces, but the team is not the dominant force it once was. The offense has question marks, the quarterback situation is unresolved, and the team is in a position where it needs a coach who can stabilize things quickly. That's not always easy with a first-time head coach, but Flores isn't a first-time coach. He's been there before. He's seen what it takes to lead a team. He's seen what it takes to handle the media, the pressure, and the expectations. But the question remains, can he do it in Pittsburgh? Can he handle the unique pressure of this market? Can he lead a team that expects excellence and doesn't accept excuses? Can he build trust with players and coaches? Can he create an identity that fits? The Steelers, those are not small questions. And they're not questions that can be answered with a resume. They require a deeper understanding of who the person is and how they operate. And that's why this is such a fascinating hire, because Flores is not a clear-cut choice. He's not the obvious candidate. He's not the safe pick. But he is the one with experience, and he is the one who has proven he can run a top defense. If you believe that the Steelers need to rebuild their identity and return to a defensive-minded philosophy, Flores makes sense. If you believe that the team needs a new voice, a new energy, and a new approach, Flores could be that person. But if you believe the Steelers need stability, continuity, and a leader who is proven in the way this franchise expects, then you might want someone else. And that's where the fan reaction comes from. People are weighing the risk versus the reward. They're trying to decide if Flores is the right fit for the Steelers culture. At the end of the day, the Steelers have to make a decision that is based on what they believe is best for the long-term future of the franchise. They have to consider the players, the staff, the culture, and the expectations. They have to consider whether Flores can be the leader they need. They have to consider whether he can bring the team back to relevance and keep them there. And as the search continues, the questions will only grow louder. The fan base will keep debating, and the media will keep analyzing. But the one thing that is clear is that the Steelers are at a crossroads, and the next head coach will shape the direction of the franchise for years to come. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers around the league are growing louder, and the latest buzz suggests that the Pittsburgh Steelers may be on the verge of a defensive transformation. According to reports circulating among insiders, Brian Flores has said yes to the organization, a move that, while not yet fully detailed, is already igniting speculation about a dramatic shift in identity on that side of the ball. Flores' name alone carries weight. Known for his aggressive mindset and meticulous preparation, he has built a reputation as a coach who refuses to let offenses breathe. The idea of that philosophy blending with Pittsburgh's long-standing defensive culture feels almost inevitable to some observers. Around the league, there is a sense that this could be more than just another coaching adjustment. It could be the start of a new era defined by pressure, discipline, and relentless pursuit. Those close to the situation suggest that Flores was drawn to the Steelers not just by tradition, but by potential. The roster already features pieces that seem tailor-made for his approach: versatile defenders, physical linebackers, and a secondary capable of thriving in complex schemes in coaching circles. The speculation is that Flores sees an opportunity to mold these elements into something far more intimidating than the sum of its parts. If the rumors prove accurate, expectations will rise quickly. Analysts are already imagining a unit that disguises coverages, sends pressure from unexpected angles, and forces quarterbacks into mistakes. The word most often used in these conversations is machine, a defense that operates with precision, consistency, and an almost mechanical efficiency. Of course, until everything becomes official, caution remains. The NFL is no stranger to big names and bold predictions that don't always translate into immediate dominance. Still, the mere possibility of Brian Flores aligning with the Steelers has injected a fresh wave of excitement into discussions around the team. For now, it remains a story fueled by confirmation, interpretation, and plenty of imagination. But in Pittsburgh, imagination alone is enough to stir belief that something formidable may be taking shape behind closed doors. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, Make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.